when it comes to the work you do, when it comes to improving people's fitness, people's health, what do most people misunderstand when it comes to all of this?
One of the things that I've always been on a mission to do is to help folks simplify the process. Because I find that there's kind of two ends of the spectrum when it comes to like health, fitness, nutrition. There's these two ends. One of them is the really, really complicated approach where you're trying to follow some sort of a diet and you're doing math every day on trying to figure out how many calories you should be eating. You're looking at food labels, you're trying to figure out how many grams of carbohydrates, proteins, fats. I mean, it becomes almost mind-numbingly complicated, so we wanted to simplify that end of it. Even the fitness, like the number of exercises and all of the things that go into fitness, I mean, it's kind of a mess. So I've always wanted to simplify things, and there's that one end of the spectrum where it's super, super complicated, but then there is kind of this other end of the spectrum, which is like, it's almost stupid simple. That's like the magic pill stuff, where it's like, okay, if you just buy this pill, and you take this, you're going to be a completely different person in like 6 months, And we all kind of inherently know that that's not the right answer. So how do we get someone, as close to the stupid simple as we can get, but of course not give up any effectiveness?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So don't go overly complicated. Obviously we kind of inherently know what stupid simple is. Where can we find a position on that scale where things are simple enough that you can plug in the habits in your life, and yet they're still very, very effective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do a lot of people come to you with information overload? Because theoretically, you're dealing with people who've done some of the research on their own. They've done reading, watching, and stuff like that. They're not just a casual exerciser as far as that goes. And so, but it seems like you could just get overcome with everything that's out there.
Yeah, the majority of guys that I talk to, they've usually been down both of these roads. They've done the complicated stuff, and they've found how unsustainable that is. They've been on the magic pill end as well, and they just understand that doesn't work. So they're trying to find something that they can plug into their life. And I think after we get a little bit older, because I work with gentlemen over the age of 40, we start to understand just how important health is, right? Like we want to be as healthy as possible. And the only way that we can really achieve a superior level of health is if we can build the habits into our life that are going to support us for the rest of our time on this planet. So the habits become a big part of this whole thing. And again, going back to the simplicity thing, the only way that we're going to be able to plug in the habits is if it's simple enough.
Yeah.
With simplicity comes some sustainability. How easy can we make this?
And well, that also makes me wonder, okay, so first off, why 40? Why that particular age cutoff for the work that you do?
That's a great question. And I struggled with that a really long time because I've worked with so many different folks and so many different ages and ability levels. And part of it was because I'm a 4-year-old, I'm 45, so I'm 40 plus. And, everybody I hang out with is 40 plus. Like this is my social network and my group of friends. So I just feel I resonate better. I enjoy working with folks who are sort of like me. We have some similar experiences and things like that. And I know that there's a lot of guys out there who are struggling with this end. They've kind of put themselves on the back burner for a long time. And, we get into our 40s, our 50s, even our 60s, and we start, it becomes a little bit more real. We're looking back on, I've got to get something worked out here, because if I stay on the track that I'm on now, my health is going to disappear, and I'm not going to be able to have the quality of life that I want as I get older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, not to put down people who work with younger athletes, but also I remember, when I was younger and playing sports and all this kind of stuff, I could have just eaten Tupperware and I would have been totally fine. There was no regimen. My I don't know, just the youthful genes that you have going, at that particular time, your metabolism is just through the roof. And so I don't know, it would seem to me it's like it's not as much of a challenge. And when you cross that 40-year-old threshold, suddenly you do have to, I don't know, put more thought into things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about this a little bit differently than I think what most folks do, because that's kind of what I hear all the time. It's like, well, I'm over 40 now, or I'm 50, whatever, and my metabolism is slowed down, and, I don't recover as quickly. And they have all these things, these go-to statements. And I look at that a little bit differently. And I'm like, look, is it because you're older, or is it because you haven't done a good job taking care of yourself over the last 10, 15, 20 years in some instances? And I find that I tend to believe it's more that than it is just simply blaming that you're old. You know what I mean? Like, you can do some pretty significant damage over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years of neglect at some level. And then it's very easy just to kind of write that off as, well, I'm older now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some truth to that, but, let's get these things fixed. And I think you'd be surprised at just how amazing you can feel at 40, 50, 60, even 70 years old. I mean, we all kind of know that one person in our life that's like, they're like 70 years old and they're crushing it. You're like, really? Like, that guy's a genetic anomaly. But if you really interview them, they've been eating good, they've been exercising, they've been doing all the right things for a very long period of time. They have the right habits and the right rituals in their life to be able to create that person, right?
Okay. So I don't know, it seems then, and also that talks more toward, because you've talked about the fitness industry, the nutrition industry, and there's a lot of big money on the line. And I think part of their messaging is, yes, you're older and this is more complicated, and you're going to, if you don't get our magic pill, you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called marketing. That's advertising. Yeah. They can create those constructs and those environments in your head. And to some degree, I feel like they're trying to almost let you off the hook a little bit. Well, guess what? You're older now. It's harder. But if you take this pill, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I want things to be simple because it doesn't have to be complicated, but you still have to. There's still work involved. There is no such thing as a magic pill yet. You still have to put in the work, and you have to put in the effort, and you have to change yourself as a person. And it really comes down to the habits and the rituals and the thoughts that you have to get yourself into a more healthful position.
Mm-hmm. And you've talked about mindset in the past, and I'm curious, with the people you work with, how important is their why, their reason for going down this road in terms of what they can achieve?
Are you asking more like, what do you think they can achieve in their head, or what is their why?
What is their, how important is their why and their motivation, for what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a personal story, which is something that I'm super interested in. I love hearing people's stories and, how they've gotten to the place they are now and what drives them to make this shift. And I generally find that guys over the age of 40, they understand the health component of this thing more than anything. It's no longer about like, look, man, I want to have a 6-pack so I can pick up chicks at the club. Like that's not at all what it is anymore. And I tell people, like, if that's who you're looking for, I'm the wrong guy. It's how can we bring together the components, the things into your life that are going to help you to improve your health. Generally speaking, when we can improve somebody's health and when we chase health, we see some kind of cool things happen. Like, you do lose body fat, you do start looking better, you start feeling better, you have more energy. You can take on life with a little bit more excitement and vigor. It creates more opportunity for you to be able to go out and do the things you want to do. And like a lot of guys, depending on how old you are, have kids, sometimes a little bit older kids that they want to keep up with. It's like, look, my kid's 15. and he's kicking my butt. I want to be able to go out there and play basketball with him, but I can't hang with him for more than 30 minutes without dying or blowing a hamstring. I mean, there's certain things in people's lives that keep them going. And like, for example, like I've got some folks who have grandkids who are young. They want to be able to get on the floor and play with their grandkids. It's quality of life. And I think that's correlated with just improving your health. What are the 3 pillars for improving your health? The simplest things. We got to improve your nutrition, what goes into your face. We got to get you moving. And then you got to sleep good at night. And that kind of ties into stress. But those are like the 3 pillars that will literally change your life when plugged in.
Well, and I guess maybe I should, back up a bit and ask, who is your ideal client? I mean, what they're looking for, but what are you looking for in a partner in this process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I find that the majority of folks who are attracted to me, majority of folks who come into the program they've been in a position before, sometime in their life, where they've had great health. And maybe like they were an athlete before. I've got some like ex-retired military folks who are in my program. So they've been there before, and they know what it feels like to just feel really good. They feel good about the person looking back in the mirror. They remember what it's like to be able to take on any physical task that might come up. You know what I mean? Like they remember that feeling, and they want to get that back. So I generally don't do very well with someone who's never really been there before. Like if you're somebody who's literally been sitting on the couch like your entire life, and now you want to, I'm probably not your best fit. Like I think that's great, but that's probably not my best fit. So somebody who's kind of been there, done that, and wants to get that back.
Okay. And then, I'm also interested in, although your focus is fitness, I think that what you do has benefits beyond that. And so I'm curious, how much of what you teach would you say translates into other aspects of life?
Yeah. And, when you said like what I do is fitness, when I hear that, sometimes I want to cringe just a little bit because I do, like, fitness is a big part of it. But here's what I've found. Fitness is a great tool for getting people fit. But what's kind of interesting is you can still be overweight, you can still be unhealthy, and you can still have a pretty reasonable level of fitness. So we have to make sure we're using the right tool for the job. I find in my past, most people tend to lean on fitness to get themselves into a better place. They want to look better, feel better, perform better. So they go to the gym and they join the gym. Maybe they get a little bit of a performance improvement, but there are folks that can see the performance improvement yet get fatter. Like that happens. I can go to the gym and get stronger and, reduce my 5K time or, whatever metric you're measuring. But, your cholesterol could be going up. You could be gaining body fat because if you're going home and you're eating, a pizza and drinking 4 beers every night, that's a problem that needs to be addressed more than anything, right? So I would say I've shifted over the years from being more fitness into more nutrition. So, one of the things that I'm trying to instill in folks is to try to take this nutrition component much more seriously than maybe they have in the past. And when we can build those habits and then we can put some fitness on top of it, it's like putting gas on the fire. We can just accelerate the whole process and then everything comes together. And at the end of the day, all of this is again, like I always talk about habits. And I've been telling people in my program, like, look, this is a habits program more than anything else. We have all the tactics and strategies, but we need to build the habits into your life so that you can, get a result and then sustain the result.
Yeah. Right.
So like a real world application is, you can change your life by first changing the way that you think. But by changing the way that you think, we need to plug in some new habits into your life so that you can become this new person.
Hmm.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. It kind of makes me think of, well, like, when they talk about learning a musical instrument, they talk about muscle memory, and it's a convenient term. Obviously, muscles don't actually have memory, but it's you've done things in a certain way. You've developed that good habit, of how to play something, how to hold the guitar, whatever it may be, so that you can almost do it on autopilot. You don't have to. It doesn't take so much mental energy, and you just kind of automatically lock in to whatever that is. And it sounds like that's what you want to create for people, in terms of nutrition and health and all this kind of thing. It's, where it's not so much homework, where it's not so much a task, where it's just almost subconscious. Oh, I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the ideal place to help someone to get to, right? To be able to, I always say it starts up here, but you have to understand first that you have to make yourself a priority. That's a big thing. If you don't have that feeling or that sense in your head, it's very hard to create the habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really understand that you are a priority and that you're important in the world and to your family. And, so you have to have that first. And then we can start creating the habits. And for like fitness, we have to create containers of space in your day for you to be able to do something, to be able to move your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I provide those things for folks, but first of all, they need to create that container of space for themselves to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And even with the nutrition, everybody's going to have little different habits, but it could be something like some people love prepping their meals the day before, so creating a container of space to be able to do that, or whatever. Everybody's a little bit unique and has some individual differences, but what are the habits that we can plug into your life so that you can run with this,
Yeah.
So it can be muscle memory,
Yeah. And well, that makes me wonder how much of what you do, is almost like being a therapist.
I'd say 99% therapy, 1% tactics and strategies.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I truly believe I have the best tactics and strategies in the universe. Like, they're amazing, but they're only as effective as what you're willing to do. And you must first believe in yourself, right? You must believe that you can achieve some amazing things. And when you believe that, then you can start applying some of these things and actually seeing the result, right? But you have to first believe in your capacity to be able to do it. And the what is your why? Why is this important to you? And then let's figure out how, where can we create some space in your life to do some of these things? And then, let's just keep running with it. I say, when you come in to me, we always do an initial phone call. You're coming in as one person. We need to turn you into somebody different. And there's so much mental stuff that needs to go on. You have to almost identify as somebody different. I call it the athlete identity. The athlete identity is your willingness to put yourself first and to be able to create the space and the habits to be able to make yourself into this new person who looks great, feels great, and performs great for a lifetime.
Do most people get that, or do you get pushback against that kind of thing when they come in and you say, well, we kind of have to turn you into this different person?
Yeah. I ask a lot of these questions on the phone to see if people are truly ready for this, because there are folks that are just like, just give me the plan. And I'm like, well, if I just gave you the plan, you're not going to do it. 99% of the folks that just read a book, it's not going to get you the results that you want. You're going to have more knowledge, but knowledge is not that valuable, quite honestly, unless you're taking action on it. So, yeah, I mean, it can be difficult. Just for example, like I had a gentleman today. We're trying to create that space for him to be able to prioritize himself, to be able to do some exercise. And he messaged me today, and he said, yeah, I've got some time in the afternoons, but his job is he's very busy in his job. And he said, if nothing else comes up, I'll be able to do what to be able to do the exercise today. And I responded to him, I'm like, like, unless something else comes up, I'm like, you need to be in a space where you're willing to say, look, like, nothing else is going to come up. You have to put that hard stop. And it's one of those things where I think we need to reframe that thought in our head that we are the priority and we want this result of being a healthier, happier person. The only way you're going to get there is if you're willing to really, look at your day and look at your life and think differently than what you've been thinking before. The person who really prioritizes themselves and has that way of thinking, or is willing to dive into that end of the work on themselves, they're going to make that hard stop. They're going to find the time. They just will. You can ask just about anybody that's had success in any area of their life. How do they get there? They find a way no matter what.
All of this stuff you do remotely, and people often think of fitness as you've got to be in person. What I'm wondering is, because obviously you've been successful doing it remotely. What I'm wondering is, what are some of the advantages of doing it remotely?
That's a really good question. Yeah, that can be a mental block for a lot of folks who are used to doing some of this stuff in person. The number one thing that I find that's been more valuable with me doing this virtually as opposed to being in person is the amount of connection I have with my clients. I was working in brick and mortar because that's all I've done for 19, 20 years. I've been in brick and mortar. So I know that model really well. I would see people an hour 3 to 5 times a week. I would see them for that period of time. I was in a gym, so I was focusing mostly on fitness. We'd have conversations about nutrition, but there was not much there, not much accountability, not much going on there. So as soon as they come to the gym, I've got my hands on them. They walk out of the gym and I don't see them again for another 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever, right? I have no idea what's going on in their life. With this model, I am literally connected to folks 24 hours a day. I'm looking at their nutrition. I'm looking at what they're doing with their fitness. I'm looking at how they slept the night before. Like, I've got the time, the space to be able to really get a bigger picture of what's going on with folks, and the ability to reach out to them anytime that we need to, and for them to be able to reach out to me and connect with me anytime. I mean, within reason. Nobody's texting me at 3 a.m, but
right.
Yeah, but I mean, the connection, and I feel like I'm able to make, with that connection, there's magic. Call it accountability, call it whatever. But some guys just need some encouragement. They want to have somebody there to reach out to whenever they need support. There's something there, some element of that helps people become more and more successful, especially if you're already driven and ready to make this shift.
No, that's interesting, because it's you wouldn't necessarily go to that thought of, oh, because I'm not there in person, I'm actually more accessible.
Yeah, 100%. The accessibility thing, you just nailed it. I mean, the accessibility, I know my clients so much more on a deeper level now than I did anybody I worked with in the gym. It's pretty incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, I know you came into this with a humongous amount of experience and knowledge, but I'm also wondering, what have you learned as a result of working with these clients? What knowledge have you picked up along the way because of this work?
I think the biggest thing for me, and I'm gonna tie this into the journey that a potential client would go through when they join me on this program. It's your ability to eliminate maybe some of the self-limiting beliefs that you have right now, because we all have them, right? We all have these things that are likely slowing us down. So let me just give you an example. So if you're these are great questions, because a lot of clients have this limiting belief that if I go virtually, I'm not going to get the support and the structure. I'm not going to get the results, because how could you do this virtually? I have to be in person, because that's what we've been taught forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided to get out of the four walls of a gym and decided to go virtually, I had the same thoughts in my head. I'm like, I used to poo-poo the guys that were doing it online because of my own self-limiting belief that the only way I could deliver results to somebody was to see them in person. But I decided to push through that self-limiting belief. I decided to look at the what if as opposed to the negative end of this whole thing, right? And I found somebody that has done this before. So I found a coach. I hired a coach to teach me this. And the hardest part of this whole thing was for me to start to actually believe in the process and to create the solutions necessary to get people not just results, but better results than what they were getting at the gym. And guess what? It works.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It works. It's insane. I mean, obviously technology and everything is amazing, and there's, all kinds of resources that I have available to me that we use, but it's absolutely incredible. So I think, for me, it's this process of getting through some self-limiting beliefs and just having that experience. I can almost feel that with some of the people that I'm talking to on the phone or some of the clients that I'm working with. We all have these things, and we need to sometimes just get a little different perspective on things in order for us to be able to move ourselves forward. And to move ourselves forward with some, there's always going to be fear, but to be able to overcome that fear and move forward no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because fear can paralyze you too,
Right.
The folks that don't believe in this, and then they don't seek any help. They just get stuck. So fear can we all have it, but we have to take the step forward and sort of overcome it and understand what the possibilities really are in our lives. For the person that says, I'm too old for that stuff, guess what? You are.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you believe that, if that's your belief, your self-limiting belief, you're never going to change unless you overcome that belief. So.
Right. Or like my therapist said, you'll have fear about things, but she said, just do it afraid, never, don't try and overcome it. You'll still get the benefit, even if you're doing it while afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like everybody's going to pee their pants once in a while. It's just, what are you going to do after you pee your pants?
Right.
Do you get stuck or do you step forward anyways?
Yeah. And then along a similar line of perspective and mindset, it would seem to me that one of the big challenges with this, as it is with fitness, with business, with anything nowadays, is comparison, especially when you're in the realm of social media and things of that nature. That seems to be what really crushes people is, I thought I was doing well, but then I saw this person who's seems light years ahead of me. And, just the comparison makes you want to give up. How do you control that urge to compare themselves among your clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you're right. That can be really tough. One of the things that, well, first of all, I mean, everybody's at a little different. You can't compare yourself to somebody else because you don't know their journey, right? If you don't know their journey, you don't know what they've been through, and you don't know how long they've even maybe been at it. Like, we don't know anything about the person that we just see on social media, right?
Right.
For me, like in business, I look at these online coaches that are making they got freaking $1 zillion companies. And I'm like, I'm not there, but I don't look at that and go, I should be there. Because if you really listen to their story, they were back where I was. You know what I mean? Like, no, you don't know where you are in the journey. So you have to embrace the position that you're in right now. And you have to worry about yourself. And we have specific metrics that we look at to get people to move forward. And as long as you're making progress, as long as the needle is moving in a positive direction, those are wins. And those wins stack up, right? If you keep going, it gets better and better and better, right? And we can just keep stacking those things. Before you know it, we're looking back and we're comparing the person you are today to the person that you were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's kind of exciting to compare you to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not you to him or her or them. Like, you have to compare you to you. And are you moving yourself forward? Are you getting to the place that you want to go? And everyone's pace is going to be a little bit different as well. I think we have to be okay with our journey and with the pace that we're on, because some people will get there a little bit faster, some people will get there a little bit slower. But as long as you're making progress and you're making wins, you're headed in the right direction. Kind of the other interesting thing is, like, I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. So what I've noticed is, when I was in brick and mortar, there was a lot more comparison when we're all together in a room, and you see somebody do something incredible, and it's kind of right there in your face. By doing it virtually and working with a lot of folks one-on-one, they're not focused on the other people in there. They're focused on themselves. So it takes some of that out of the equation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
I think it's so easy for us to put ourselves, as not a priority. And I just, like, deep down in my soul, I just know that that's just so, it can be so damaging if done long enough. I just feel so strongly about making yourself a priority and really making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because if you don't do that, I don't care how well you take care of your elderly mom or your kids or whatever. If you're not here and you're not at a 10, or at least striving to be a 10, like, it affects everything in a negative way. It's just, I believe we all have this kind of light to shine into the world. And if that light is dim, it affects not just you, but it affects everybody. I say that this journey is the least selfish journey you can be on. I consider it to be very, very selfless. And if you can really understand just, and really think about how important you are to this world and to the people who care about you and who you care about, to me, it becomes a no-brainer. Like, you have to move yourself forward,
Yeah. Although, I wonder how hard that is for, let's say, your clients to convince other people, family members and stuff, that it is actually selfless, because it's a program that seems all focused on them and, their eating, their training, their, how they look, how they feel, all this kind of stuff. So everything about it screams, focus on you. But I understand the aspect of, okay, well, really, this is so, the better you are, the better you can be for other people.
Yeah. It's a challenge, no doubt. And I think it's one of the potentially difficult conversations that you have to have with your loved ones. And I'm just going to use an example of, like, the spouse, right? Because if we're married, and let's just say, for example, my wife is, let's say both of us have been putting ourselves on the back burner for a long time. We're both 30, 40 pounds overweight. We both know that we're not in a great place physically. Maybe we're both on cholesterol medication, and we're looking at type 2 diabetes, who knows, whatever situation that we're in, and we're both kind of there. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm going to get this fixed, and I think this is the conversation you need to have. Like, I want to get this fixed. I pass no judgment upon you, because you can never pass judgment on anybody else. You have to take responsibility for your position and move yourself forward. But then you want to try and explain the situation to your loved one, and let them know, like, look, I'm going to move myself forward. I'm going to try to get this thing fixed. Would you be okay with me doing that? How do you feel about me doing that? And if they're telling you that you should not get yourself fixed, I'm going to go as far to say is you might be in the wrong relationship. Like, if they're really going to try to hold you back from doing that, that to me is almost more selfish than you moving yourself forward. And I think you have to explain this in the right way, because you could make it selfish yourself, but you have to say, like, look, I want to be here for you. I
Yeah.
want to be here for our kids. And I want to be able to be here at my best so that I can care for all of you. And if she or he says, no, I think that's a bad idea, then I think you need to question that relationship. Is that one of the things that's really holding you back from really being the best version of yourself?
Yeah.
I'm that passionate about it.
Hmm. Well, no, I mean, and I can understand that, definitely, and I wonder how much of a struggle it is for some other people. But yeah, no, I get the idea that, look, this is a marathon, and it's like, if you're going to be there for the entire time, you've got to, what's the term that one guy said one time? Start out like you can stay out.
Yeah.
Don't just burn out in a fiery flame and leave all your loved ones behind, kind of thing.
Yeah. And if you don't take care of yourself, it's gonna fall on them anyways. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if I'm in a nursing home, somebody's gonna have to worry about me and take care of me. And it's a place that I never want to put my loved ones in. So I'm gonna take it upon me to make sure that I take care of myself so that I can take care of others. I'm gonna be the tip of the spear if I have to. I'm gonna be in the position where I can do whatever it takes to help other people.
Yeah.
I never want to be the burden.
Right.
And all of this stuff is under your control. Like, it's your responsibility. You know. And I always go back to, like, yeah, as you know, I'm a cancer survivor, and I had cancer the first time, and I was a victim the first time. And I didn't really change any of my habits or my thoughts or my beliefs or anything. And I just kind of stayed in this place where I wasn't in a good position. I was overweight. I was drinking a lot. I just was kind of just in a really bad place. And then I was in a really bad place and I got cancer. So that put me in a worse place. The interesting thing is the doctors did a couple of surgeries. And after my second surgery, they called me up and they said, you're all clear. You're good to go. So I'm like, cool, that's great, right? And again, nothing changed. I never changed myself. Now I just happen to be in a bad place, but was cured from cancer, right?
Yeah.
So I went, well, that's pretty cool. Then 9 months goes by and I get a call and they're like, well, it's back. And I'm like, holy shit, okay. So maybe I need to approach this a little bit differently. Maybe I need to start taking more responsibility for my health in the place I was in. And I was newly married. If I didn't take that stance and that position, there's a good chance I wouldn't be here today. My wife would have been widowed. We wouldn't have Lucas. Like, it would have been a completely different thing. Like, it was my responsibility to get myself into a better place. So I had to change everything, and it started here.
Didn't think about that. That's interesting.